And we're going to move on to our next speaker. And this is really important to me because you talk about repelling the wrong people. The open virtual coffee, the way that Michael talks about it, helps you sort and sift. But then there are people that come into your life and then they stick with you for a long time because you are collaborating with each other and you're learning. So the next person is Gary Barnes. And before I get into the big introduction with it, I just want to talk about how sometimes you have mentors that you will always stand beside, even if you grow in directions that they are not. And Gary is one of those people to me. He's very near and dear to my heart. And you want to talk about character? Last year, when I was at his annual boot camp, and I was learning it for the 5th or 6th time, I've lost track how many times I've been at his boot camp. And I still go every time because I learn a little nugget. I learn a little more. I'm networking. It's like a family event, and it's down in Denver. So I know many of you are on East Coast, different places. But if you're going to ever get down to Denver to be a part of his boot camp, it will serve you well because it's a good group of people and you learn a lot from him. He's the one that taught me the $100,000 a year blueprint. It took me 2 years to implement it, but I did make $165,000 the second year. But it took me 2 years to get it all down working with him on that. So that's the first thing is our relationship with that. But when I was sitting at his boot camp, I said, I'm running a summit. It's this, and this time. And he moved his boot camp 1 week so that I could make sure I made it to his boot camp, even though I was running the summit. So this is the character of Gary Barnes. Gary Barnes is also one of those men that tells you like it is. And he wanted me to teach his group about money. And he's like, Janine, talk about the emotional side, talk about the 60-40 principle, blah, blah, blah. He's given me opportunities to be on his stage. I give him opportunities to be on mine. And 2 books you may want to look at of Gary Barnes are How a Beaver Saved My Life. That's his story. And then the second one is The Power of Get Statements. And both of those are really high quality books. And then when you go to his boot camp, and I know this sounds like a commercial, but you know, when you have people that really help you thrive in your business, you're going to support them. You're going to promote them. This is the shelf help. It's a 3-ring binder. People are like, oh my God, that's so old school. Why isn't it digital? Because you write in it the entire time you're at the boot camp. And you want to know something? I still have my notes from the first year where I found his $100,000 blueprint and talked about all the things I had to do. I gave myself 3 years to accomplish what he had. I was able to do it in 2. So with that, should I do the formal introduction now, Harry? Go ahead and unmute yourself and come on board and talk to us a little bit.
Well, yeah, go ahead and do a little bit of the introduction that gives them a flavor outside of the raving fan that you are, which is always great. As I usually say, I said this at an event not too long ago, in fact, about 4 or 5 days ago that I spoke at, and the moderator was raving about everything, and I'm just going, I actually got embarrassed, because I truly see myself as the kid next door. So if I can do it, you can do it. But so yeah, go ahead and give them a little bit of background.
Okay. All right. Okay. Here's the formal one with me as the radio show host. So Gary Barnes is the Breakthrough Mastery Business Coach. He's a high-performance business and sales strategist, popular national and international speaker. He's given over 1,000 talks. He's an award-winning #1 international best-selling author. He's credited with writing 10 books. Gary's client span over 8 countries, has been published by many outlets, including the Boston Globe, LA Daily Times, Worth Magazine. He's been featured on ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, PBS, and do not forget TEDx. There you go, Gary.
Cool. And Yvonne, I heard you say you're not that speaker type of personality. And my wife says if I have an audience of 1, I'm happy. So today I'm ecstatic. And she says that as long as she's not the one. So it's after being married almost 50 years, she's heard my stories and she knows she's pretty much in many of those stories. And most of them are pretty much true. But anyway, so guys, thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time out to be with Janine. Janine, I believe in the things that she does. I've seen the lives that she has changed. And, to be on a journey with her in these different areas is truly a blessing and an honor. She has asked me to really, reach back into some of the basic things that I teach around. And the $100,000 blueprint is one of those concepts. Um, for most of people that are into the entrepreneurial world, business world, for whatever reason, $100,000 seems to be a barrier. Once they get over that $100,000, it's more of a wash, rinse, and repeat. It's just another duplication. And so what it is that how do we get there? What is it that allows us to get over that $100,000 mark? The analogy I use with the $100,000 mark, I'll start with this, is probably you have heard this. This has been around in the educational, motivational world for a long time, is that they used to it was a scientific experiment using fleas. They would put fleas in a jar and put a lid on it, and they put air holes so they wouldn't, die. But those fleas would start jumping and they would hit their heads on, you think about a flea being able to learn something, and then we have a hard time. You guys, there seems to be a discrepancy here. But anyway, the fleas would jump, and at a certain point, they would only jump to the level of the lid. And then they would take the lid off. And what they found was those fleas, even though the resistance, the barrier was no longer there, that they would not jump out of the container. And what I have found is that we are in that jar. The lid is no longer there, but we have been trained. And it started in school. Stay in line, don't have a voice, ask permission to do anything, ask everybody else what it is that you want in your life. If you want to have fun, the next time you're at a restaurant, listen to the people around you. And what they're going to do is ask everybody at their table what looks good to them. Who cares? What looks good to you? Get out of the jar. And so one of the things that I always like doing is giving people, whether or not they need it or want it from me, is I want to give you permission to step out into your light, to be able to really get out into the areas that you have been given the stimulus to do. Because right now, each of you are 100%. You're at 100% capacity. Now, will that change? Yes. You will grow into a new container. And I use the analogy of the hermit crab, because the hermit crab finds a home, it grows, and at a certain point, it has to leave and find a new home. Now, the challenge is at the moment that it leaves its former house, it's totally vulnerable. It has no idea if it's, number one, going to find a new house. It doesn't know if there's going to be another someone that's going to figure that now it's dinner time, whatever it may be. But unless they move, it's not going, they're going to die in that old shell. The other analogy I use is a goldfish. A goldfish will grow to the capacity of the container that it's in. It's really weird. You can have really huge goldfish, or you can have the little tiny ones that go in the bowl on your. So what I'm saying is, it's your choice. One of the monikers, one of my Garyisms is, are you a spectator or are you a participant? It's your choice. And in that choice, there's risk. So anyway, I wanted to give you a ongoing formula that I have built in. By the way, everything that I speak about, teach about, are things that I've developed for myself. So they're all proprietary. But what I say is, don't take me at, I don't want to create mini-me. So take what I have, whatever fits, great. Everything else, just throw in the trash can after we're all done. So it's not about creating and duplicating exactly what I say. Janine, actually, in the 100,000 blueprint, she did some adjustments and it fit her. Because if it doesn't fit, you're not going to do it long term. So the first question that I have for you before we get into the $100,000 blueprint is a process that I call so what to so that. So what to so that. And there's two areas. The first area is in your personal life. The so what to so that about you. The second area is so what to so that in your business. So let's take yourself. I asked somebody last night, a new client of mine, I said, so what's your so what? Or you are so what? So what is your so that? And she started telling me everything about everybody else except her. We're not used to talking about us. We're not used to saying, this is what I desire. This is the reward that I receive. We are given that old moniker that for most people, and I asked this from, oh golly, I must have asked this to hundreds of thousands of people now from stage. Is it better to give or to receive? You know, if I was to ask this here in this group, I would say the majority would say it's better to give. And that's how we've been taught. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I follow up with a second question. How can you give without first receiving? That's a conflict within ourselves. So when we start determining what it is that we want, in fact, there is another concept that, oh golly, Franklin Covey, Stephen Covey had this one saying of start with the end in mind. Start with the end in mind for you. What is it that you want? Most people will create a product or service and then put a price tag on it. It's backwards. Create a price tag and then create the value to substantiate that price tag. Because what happens with many products or services to increase to a level of compensation that is truly going to serve you, there's not enough hours in a year to do it. And so you have designed a process where you're going to be disappointed and you're going to feel like a failure, even though it was created at the very beginning. And so it's just like anything, is that there is a value, but there is a point in the population about, at what point will they invest in certain items. So by the way, I have no script, as you probably can tell this. I'm kind of just, coming from my internal fortitude here. I'd like to have you write down the word sell. Write down on a piece of paper the word sell. And I want you to cross it out and replace it with the word share. Most of us hate selling only because we hate someone selling us. And when that happens, we will resist actually showcasing what we have to offer to people. So and we're going to get into that actual process here in a second, but I happen to think about that. But when we start looking at the so what to so that, so if I was to ask you, what do you do? And you say, I'm a realtor. Okay, well, you're a realtor is a so what? What's the so that? That's your identity. That's what you do. That's not who you are. And I truly believe that 80% of success in anything we do is psychological and emotional. I have been building businesses. Janine, you're going to love this. I have been starting to say now, I have been building businesses to a high level for 30 plus years, and you guys can put in whatever the plus means to you. I'm not old, I'm just older. And so, but the thing is that over my experience, it's truly about the value that we put onto ourselves, that we are able to create a value for others. Think about that. It's only in the value that we see in ourselves that we can create and release a value to others. And when we do that, we become something that people will talk about. You will have an organic reach out into the community. I speak anywhere from 35 to 50 times a year. It's been in the last 5 years, I've asked for 2 of those stages. All of the other stages, all of the other opportunities have come to me. Here, I did not ask Janine to be on her program. She reached out and she goes, would you pretty please come on and be here? And, if I have it on my calendar and open, I always say what? Yes, there is a really big opportunity when we are in the mindset of yeses instead of no's or I can't. And Tony Robbins made it famous instead of saying I can't, into how can I? Now, we know that everything won't fit, but the thing is that when we start understanding the elements of being in business, I would say every single person that I've met in business are really good. Whatever that stimulus is for them doing what they do, they're really good at it. You guys are great at what you do. But what I've also found is so many people are really terrible at being in the business of what you do. The business of what you do, you're hoping it's going to happen, but there is no plan. There is no blueprint. There is no roadmap to know whether you're winning or losing. In fact, this has come up a number of times lately in online programs, and where people are saying, they made 100,000, 300,000, $1 million. And what we have started doing, and they've actually, I've been in this industry a long time, so I can go through back doors and start asking, well, how much did you make? And there was a couple of them that actually told me, I don't know. All they did was track the revenue coming in. And they went back and looked, and they actually lost money. And so a lot of what we're hearing now is a lot of fluff. We have to look at what it is. It's not how much money you make, it's how much money you keep. As far as the business side, then we also have the value side of what the value is that we provide to other people. So doing that so what to so that concept, and my experience is that once you do that in levels where you start down to something between 10 and 15 levels, you're going to start getting to the base of the realness, the authenticness of who you are and what you do. So when you do it on a business side point, you said, so what? I'm a business coach. So what? I mean, there's a dime a dozen. They're all over the place. I'm a speaker. I'm an author. I have been credited now with 10 books. So what? It means nothing. I go into Starbucks and I still spend $10 for a cup of coffee. It's just like, it doesn't matter. The reality is, where can we start putting down the value? And also, one of the things that I have found is when we tell people, let's say I'm a business coach. Hi, I'm Gary Barnes. I'm a business coach. As soon as I say that, we have a tendency to go into my mind of who else do I know that's a business coach? And now you're put in a pigeonhole that has most likely nothing to do with you. And when we do that, we're doing them a disservice because they're checking out. Or I'm a realtor. Well, I don't want to buy or sell a house right now, so you have no relevance to me. But you don't know about the relationship. I'm looking at relationships that are the most important thing. So the first thing here, and I got to figure out my time, because again, I am not running off a script. Is the so what to so that. And at the end, I really want to leave some room, Janine, for some question and answers. The next thing is a three-step process that I have created. It's called the 3 keys to success. And the first key is the ability to be seen, to be seen. Again, when we are born as parents, I think a lot of us, either we have had children or we have at least have seen a child. The first, when they're babies, the first thing we want them to do is walk and talk. And as soon as they do, we say, shut up and sit down. And so, again, it's one of those things that many times we have been in a position of that lid that I talked about with the fleas, that we don't have permission to be seen. We don't have permission to use our voice, not only in what we're wanting or what we don't wanting, but what it is that we are showcasing ourselves to the people that may have a need or a connection or a relationship possibility with us. And so the be seen part is what I call stepping into your light. I truly believe, and this sounds a little woo-woo, but it's really real. The only thing that if you don't step into your light, you cannot give it away, I cannot take it from you, is that light will go out. You've heard the greatest sorrow of a person is when they die with their song within them, their book that's within them. All of the things that we look at as value, and people have this great value, but they have never had permission to be out there. And it's not about ego. It has nothing about ego, because ego is about me. When I showcase, and the prayer that I pray, literally, and this has nothing to do with religion, really, but it has to do with my attitude to why I'm there. And it happened today. I did it right before this program. Is my prayer is, let me touch one. I am a conduit. I am the subject, but I am not the message. I am the subject, but I am not the message. So everything doesn't start with me. I'm not the guru. I literally, when most of the time I say, I am truly the kid next door. And it's not a put down. It's just saying, if I can do it, you can do it. If Mikey likes it, maybe you'll like it too. And so working in this arena, we can step into that light where we're not going to become divas, where it's not about us. It's about truly the people we solve. And that works back towards, again, that we're no longer selling, but we're sharing. We're sharing ourselves. In fact, I was on another program last week, and in speaking, there is a concept of seeding. Now, I do it kind of naturally because I do it in stories. For those of you that are thinking about becoming speakers, um, if you the two things to really think about is becoming a really great storyteller and being humorous, not funny, but humorous. But I, in the middle of that talk, it was really, I was invited onto that program, and she wanted to promote the boot camp. Okay, I went onto the program and nobody connected to the boot camp. And that's okay. But in the middle of the talk, I said something about training speakers, and I have speaker boot camp and whatever. But it was just like, a 3-second mention. She reached out and said, I'd like to talk to you about engaging you as my speaker coach. I don't know where it's going to come from because I didn't have a hook. I did not have an agenda. But stepping into your light, in your authenticity, and this is where I fall back into where I say you're 100% already, because you don't want to look at, anybody else that does what you do and say, well, I want to be just like them. Well, there's no reason because there's already them. You need to be you. So stepping into your light and making you unique. Here's my definition of celebrity. How am I different from, not better than? How am I different from, not better than? And so that's where we can embrace our introduction, our bio. It's just, this is what I've done. This is who I am. I've flown World War II P-51 fighter. I've bungee jumped. All this other stuff that I've done. It's not about saying, hey, look at me. I'm this great person over here. I'm this whatever. No, I'm just saying, hey, this is what I've done. Who would like to, do the same thing or have a conversation, or what have you done? I am looking, when I engage with somebody in that way, I want to know the story behind the story. I really don't care about, and I shouldn't say this way, but I don't care about what they do. That will come out. But I want to know them as a human being. And so that brings us actually to the second key, and that is to be safe, SAFE. And I don't know anyone else that is teaching this in the marketplace today. And what I mean by that is to have no agenda. Now, we all have an agenda at some point to receive revenue, to have a client, a customer, whatever it is that you do with your product or service. But if you have that as a ulterior motive, I'm meeting you so that you will buy my stuff, we will transmit that organically through the air, and they'll feel like there's a hook. When you truly want to know the story behind the story, James, I love your avatar, your story behind your story, then you become what I call a people magnet, because you're going to be so different that most people are really just like, this is crazy. When I'm on an airplane, I say, if you don't want to be my new best friend, don't sit next to me, because I'll start a conversation and 2 hours later, I have said maybe 33 things, and they'll get up and say, you're such a great conversationalist. My idea is to listen to their stories. And I'm a total stranger, and they'll tell me about their spouses, their boyfriends, girlfriends, their children, their finances, and I'm sitting there going TMI, TMI, TMI. But what it is, it's so unique that somebody truly wants to understand who they are, that at that point you become human to human instead of something with an agenda. So to be safe takes that whole equation away from selling to sharing. Because the analogy that I use is, most of us do not have a brick and mortar store. But what does a traditional store do? That owner goes in the morning, unlocks the door, turns the lights on, turns the open sign on, and then showcases what's on the inside. Now, in the olden days, they would have a guy or a lady on the outside, barkers, that would say, hey, come on in. There's such a, all this stuff. You go on the boardwalk, you'll still see some of these guys, but we don't do that anymore. So what do? You're walking by the candle store. You were not intending to buy a candle today, but you look in the door and you go, oh, hey, that's really cool. And you walk in. Now, if you walk in, don't buy something and walk out, that owner doesn't break into tears and going, "What haven't you brought that? You know, that come on back. I'm really that good." No, they don't do that. What they do is our purpose is to showcase, to invite people in, to build. In fact, one of my clients right now, it's all about timing with people. Her niece was a client and she built a tremendous business. And this, her aunt said to me, "I'm going to hire you." She said that for 7 years. 2 years ago, I get a text one night, "I'm ready now." My wife is looking at it going, "Who's that?" It's like, but my wife says I have 90% of my clients are women, which is weird, but I don't, my style is Socratic, which means that I ask questions for you to come up with your answers. I'm not there to tell you that this is the answer. My process is this is my way, not the way, or it's a way. So it's not the only way. But the thing is that if I hadn't been in a place of just showcasing and allowing that relationship to build to the right timing, that person would not be a client for me today. And so the thing is to be safe is something that takes all the anxiety away from networking, going out and meeting people at the grocery store, being on an airplane, because I am just a curious, crazy guy that wants to know your story. One of my clients tested this a number of years ago. She was on a flight and she just wanted to know the person next to her. And it turned out at the end of it, he says, "Well, you probably don't recognize me, but I'm one of the Kingston Trios." And she goes, "No." And he said, "Would you like to come to a concert? You'll be my guest. You'll come backstage." I mean, we don't know where this comes from. In fact, at my boot camp this time, there's a gentleman named Nordine Zweig. And Nordine, I went to, any of you know who, oh golly, I'm missing, it doesn't matter. I was at a seminar and I was in San Diego and I was by myself. And it was one of the guys that was on the movie The Secret. So he and I connected, he wanted me to come. And so I'm sitting in the restaurant by myself. This gentleman walks in and sees me and he says, "Would you mind if I have breakfast with you?" And I go, "No." So we're sitting down, we talk. Well, it turns out he walks in and he's one of the presenters. Here he is. He was Mr. France, Mr. Europe, Mr. World, and two-time Mr. Universe. He was the head trainer at Miraval. He was Oprah's first trainer. The next morning, I'm at the restaurant. He comes walking in. I'm by myself. He says, "Can I have breakfast with you again?" I go, "Yes." We have been best friends ever since. But it was through the connection of the humanness, not because of what he could get out of me or what I could get out of him. And so these organic connections, and I think that's somewhat what the tail end of what I was catching from Michael is that's what he was talking about. It's not about conversions. The concept of converting people. In fact, one of my clients called me a number of years ago and he said, "How can I get my people to convert faster?" And when I say this, my clients know they're in trouble. I said, "Let me ask you a question." I said, "Are you asking me how to get somebody to do what you want them to do when you want them to do it and not in their timing, but yours?" And he goes, "Oh, crap." And so he says, "Well, what's the solution?" I said, "Talk to more people, put more people in the pipeline." Going back to step number one, having that ability to people to know you're there, to see you. If you have a book, and I forget who it is, the book person, I don't think she's here anymore. But if you don't have a book, I would suggest everybody having a book. Having a book, it's really crazy. It's going back to being seen. It is, once I thought it was being an international speaker and a coach and building. I owned one of the largest financial planning firms in the world, or not the world, in the US. But the thing is that when I wrote a book, I became an instant celebrity. That's where PBS came from. That's where TEDx came from. TEDx actually, I never applied for TEDx. TEDx read the book, called me and said, "Would you be one of my celebrities at my event?" Okay, it's really weird. But the thing is that having that ability to be that uniqueness and have permission to find the story behind the story, now we're having true connections instead of people feeling like we're using them. Yeah, Janine.
I just want to make sure because we're at half past the hour. We have 15 minutes, and I know how you are. And we only have two keys of three. So the first
Yep.
key is to be seen, the second is to be safe.
I was about ready to go to number 3.
Thank you, sir.
Believe it or not, I was looking at the computer. I was winking at it and going, no. So anyway, the third key is to be relevant. And there's 3 pieces of being relevant. The first question is, do they need what you want? And the second is, do they want it? And the third thing is, how do they want it? How do they want it delivered? And so where I go with this a lot of times is when we have a product or service, something that we're doing, we're only doing it because we see that there is a need in the community, in the world, whatever. We see that need. And so when I speak to health professionals, I ask them, in the United States, do Americans want to be healthy? Almost to a person, they say, well, of course they do. And I said, well, let me ask you a question. If that is a true statement, why is McDonald's the #1 restaurant in America? What do Americans really want? They want fast, taste good, and cheap. And then they go, well, do I have to change what I want? I go, no, but when do Americans want to be healthy? When they're sick. And so really it's about how to describe and how to deliver what you have. And this truly goes back to the so what to so that. The #1 infomercial on not weight loss, but weight fitness was the program 10-Minute Abs. The 10-Minute Abs did not tell you there was a meal plan. They didn't tell you there was other things to do besides 10 minutes a day working this thing. And what did they sell? What did they showcase? The so that in the marketing ad. They showed all of the good looking 6-packs on the guys. They showed women in bikinis. They were at a mansion on the beach, and they were showing wealth, and it was just, and youth. There, I don't think there was anybody over 25 in the commercial. So it was that, but who really believed that you were going to be able to get that body in 10 minutes a day? The other unique thing, it had the lowest return rate of any infomercial that had ever run. It was really something that the conversion part of that was they were showcasing what it could do. And that could do was still something they wanted. What if I could do it and they get it? How many times have we all bought something and we totally intended to do it or apply it, and it went in the closet? I won a drone 2 years ago. It's in the closet. I have not even taken it out of the box. Years ago, I love airplanes and flying and all that. I won one of the very first iPhones. It was in the box because I was scared of it. I had the whole flip phone and all this other stuff and this electronic brain that was going to yell at me and do all Siri, who's Siri? And my kids finally said, we're taking it away from you unless you activate it. And now it's my best friend. You can actually program this thing to say, you're good. It's just like, but the thing is, the thing that humans hate the most, the #1 thing, is change. We don't like to change. We like that predictability. Even if what we're doing is not giving us the result, that's why when, the beginning of the year, the #1 thing that people do is they buy a membership to the gym. When you go to the gym, the first 2 weeks of any given year, you cannot find a machine to work on. It's so crowded. At the end of January, you could shoot a cannon and not hit anybody. And the reason being, they go and it's pleasurable. They have this idea and they go, and then the next day they wake up and their body kind of hurts because their body is not used to doing so. By stopping, actually feels pleasurable. We have learned over the years that we'll do things for pleasure or to alleviate pain or to achieve pleasure. And the thing is that to get to pleasure, we have to have the pleasure bigger than the pain. That's why when somebody in 1988, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. I was told I would be dead or in a wheelchair within 10 years. That's where the Beaver book came from. And the whole thing was I had to go beyond. I had lost all feelings from the neck down. I still have no feelings in my hands. I have very little feelings in my feet. We find a way around the obstacle. But if we have never done that, it's like having a parachute that we have never opened, and we just hope it will when we need it. So when we come up for this possibility of the things that are right before us, and why do other people succeed and we don't? Because in similar situations, the whole thing is on the relevant side, if they truly need it, it's then about timing. And the other side is how do they want it? In our world, like I heard, I think Michael said he used to do live events. Well, live events they're harder today than they were, even 2 or 3 years ago, say pre-COVID. And the idea is that are they still relevant? And the answer is yes, but we have to do them differently. We have to do it in a way that allows people to engage, because it used to be that people were investing $2,000-3,000 to go to an event. That is not the way the marketplace is today. But anyway, how do we adjust? How do we flow? Anybody that was in the buggy whip industry or whale oil industry, if they were still there, they'd probably be, not doing well today, unless you're in the Amish country. But the thing is that adjusting to what people want and need, because if we're listening, by the way, speaking has more to do with listening than it does to with speaking. But listening to our clients and saying, listening for what they want and how do they want it, and then we create it. One of my clients today, we were talking, he's a chiropractor, and he said, I just had somebody that wanted to hire me as a consultant, and we haven't put that together yet. Is this too early to do that, or should we go? I go, when somebody wants to give you money, say yes. Put it together. This is the whole, because people, I don't care if you're selling toothpicks. There is a life-saving element to that. What is it that you connect the people that you work with to something else that allows them to be better? So we're all pieces of this giant puzzle. And by doing that, we all succeed because it is a group process, not an individual process. The very last thing as a bonus is the thing that most of us have a very hard time doing is celebrating our successes. And if we do, we think about it, we only celebrate, quote, the big successes. And if you don't celebrate the small successes, you're not going to celebrate the big ones. The little ones are actually more important than the big ones, because I think back to football or baseball. I mean, games are won on the 3-yard pass. The game baseball is won, the pennants, the World Series is won on base hits, not home runs. And we have a tendency to focus on the big thing, the big celebration. And so if we don't have these wins along the way, and for most of us that have influence and connection with other people, if we don't celebrate our wins, they won't celebrate theirs. And that's the hard truth. It's like children. They will do what we do, not what we say. And so by really celebrating and then showcase, this goes back to number one, to be seen. Share your journey. And it's just not the positive journey. Show the things that are you're going to stub your toe. Well, this is what I did. This is where I'm going on this side. Show your humanness, not all your fallacies. I'm not talking about uncovering all the big bad things along the way. I'm just saying be real, because that's where, particularly in social media, you just see everybody, you look at it, nobody ever has a problem. Everybody has more money than they know what to do with. Everybody's family is perfect. I mean, it's like Ozzy and Harriet. I mean, it's crazy. And so it's not that way. And so just be human, be the kid next door, allowing people to say, hey, we're doing this together, and look for people at a mile marker where you want to be. That's what I suggest to everybody. Look for somebody where you want to be, not to go. I don't want to go to the person that has, quote, made it. Never tell me to make it. Janine has learned this. Because if you tell me I've made it, that means I'm on my way back. There's not another level. The more that at 20 years old, I knew everything. And now the more that I know, the more that I know that I don't know. And that's exciting for me. There's always another level of experience and understanding and creation. And so in that, it keeps me engaged. And most people have no idea how old I am, and that's good. So how am I doing?
You're doing great. We have 5 minutes for questions. Well done. And so I have put in the chat Gary's website. so that you can go there. You'll see his list of events. And he also has a home study course. And that's one of those things that when you go through the home study course, you'll see the other content that we've talked about. So any questions for Gary from anyone? You understand everything, got it down, know how to implement it. It's all done. Wow. When I went to his boot camp, I had so many questions. I was like a freaking gopher. I was like, pump, pump, pump.
They're going to percolate, and that's okay. It's one of those things. If you take at least one nugget away, I'm happy. If you do want to connect, Gary at Gary Barnes International is my email address, and I answer my own personal email. I always have the free gift, the free gift from Gary.com, which is 30 days inside of my group coaching. But anyway, so James.
You set this up as a bit of a softball, but if you were to tell the audience, what is the one thing that should take away from what you talked about today, what would it be?
Nike, just do it. Launch and adjust. Launch and adjust is one of my Garyisms, because with an airplane is designed to be, in adversity. The only time an airplane is in 100% on course is on the ground. But to be in the air, it's where you have the forces of nature against it. It has to do with, the airplane itself. Is it going to work? All of the variables. And it's only in those situations that we find out what works or doesn't work. We can hypothesize, we can manipulate, but it's another analogy I use where I don't bake, but I use a baker's, concept of bread. If you knead the bread too much, it becomes a rock. It's not usable. An idea is the same way. Something that you're inspired to do, if you don't do it, the odds are in maybe 3, 5, maybe next week, you're going to find somebody else marketing it because you chose not to act on it. And that really can be a kind of that double-edged sword again. And you go, oh, crud, I knew about that. I should have done that.
It's also physics.
Yes.
It's easier to move a body in motion than it is to move a body that's standing still.
Yep. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you. Carol, please.
I'm actually having medical treatment that weekend. So when is your next, how often do you run these sessions?
The 3-day boot camp on that is once a year.
Once a year.
And so it'll be next September, and we can get that out. I do speaker boot camps. I train speakers. We do other events along the year, but that particular event is only once a year.
Okay.
So
I will have to join you next year then.
Yeah, reach out and let me, so I can get you the information, and the registration will open a week after the boot camp that's coming up next weekend.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, I recommend his home study course too. Go ahead, Melanie. Oh, you're on mute, sweet niece.
There we go. That's exactly what I was going to ask about. I am not able to travel at the moment at all. Won't be for a little while. And so the home study course, I was on your website and I couldn't find it. So is there a specific link for that one?
Yeah, onpurposeresults.com should allow you to get there.
Thank you.
The other thing that if you do register for the bootcamp next year, you're included in my group calls, group coaching mastermind for the year as a bonus, and you also get a coaching session with me.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Well, yeah, reach out on social media. I don't collect people collect me. So I normally don't reach out. I tell you, I'm weird. But it's would love to hear your stories and do a Zoom call with you.
Okay, and Tasha has told me that we have about a minute left. Any quick questions for Gary before we go? Yeah, because we're going to eventually have a lot of people coming in for us. So, okay, Gary, thank you so much. I appreciate you making time out of your busy schedule to hang out with us and be able to share what you know. And I appreciate all of what you have done for me in my business over the last 7 years. And it's always a lot of fun to be able to bring a mentor on and say, okay, and have you join us. So thank you for being here today.
Well, you're very welcome. It's an honor and pleasure.
We'll see you next week. I'll be at your boot camp. Okay. All right. Well, thank you everyone for being here. We have 15 minutes left, and what we're going to do is bring everyone into the main room. And then once we do that, we got about 30 seconds before we close. And what we'll do is a real quick assessment, and we'll move on from there. So stay with us until the top of the hour. It will be worth your time. Thanks. And I'll see if Tasha does it here. Give us a second. Hey, Tasha.
Hello, everyone is filtering back in.
Okay. Welcome, welcome. Great to see everyone. Thank you so much for being here. It's lovely to have everyone here at the Authorpreneurial Summit. We've had some amazing speakers, incredible bonuses that were taken care of. Did everybody get the bonuses that they were interested in receiving? We will have emails going out to you later tonight. Hello, welcome, welcome. It's great to have everyone here in the same room. Woohoo! We made it through day 1. We have day 2 tomorrow. More information, more really good content coming to you. I hope you make it. We have a few speakers that are going to do encore presentations, and that's because they are frequently asked for. And one of those is Matt, our 1-minute tech tip guy. Matt will be back with us tomorrow. Think about the questions you may have. Also, you will see some of the speakers coming back again tomorrow, and I would like you to think of questions for them, because it's one of those things that sometimes you need to percolate on stuff. Like, you have time to kind of sit and think about it. We have several of the speakers who were just participating with us today. I want to thank all of you who came today. You weren't speaking. Several of you have had situations that I'm familiar with. I just want to say thank you so much for being present with us. And I would really enjoy it if a few of you would raise your hand and share with us something that you learned that you didn't know before, or you had learned it once and it's refreshing to hear it again for yourself. So go ahead and raise your hands, please. Go ahead, Cheryl.
You know me, I'm going to tell you.
Thank you.
I had the most fun, and I received so much from this group. And I just can't thank you enough for allowing me to be part of this, because I really did receive so much from them. And they're wonderful. You have gathered a lot of wonderful people around you. Thank you, Janine.
You're very welcome. And thank you for blessing us with the wisdom that you carry around between your ears. You have a lot to share with everyone. So thank you, Cheryl. It's wonderful to have you with us. And yes, Rich, if you would go, please.
Sorry, I was muted. No, not going to happen. Not going to let you do that. So I'm so glad that we had the conversation about imposter syndrome in one of the groups I was in, because I'm sitting here with my book, but I haven't done anything with it yet. So
would you mind holding it up for us, please? We celebrate people here. Rich book was published this past week. So we celebrate. Woo! Look at you being a big bad author now. Congratulations. He never had that on his list. He never thought he would be an author. It's wonderful to have you with us, Rich.
And thank you, Janine, because you introduced me to Jeff, and Jeff made it all possible.
Yeah, baby. Go, Jeff. Go, Jeff. Making it happen. Making dreams come true. Making dreams come true people didn't even think they could achieve. That's the biggest thing, right?
It wasn't even a dream I thought I had.
Rich helped Jeff, because he's like, oh, I find I'm bookless. And Jeff was like, hey, can I use that in my messaging? Helping the bookless go to booked. That's Jeff's new thing. So that's the importance of listening to your clients. Sometimes your clients give you the best content you can ever have. And so we thank you for that. Shiraz, definitely wonderful to see you, dear.
First of all, thank you for putting this all on. This has been so much fun. And I just learned the value of having a book and turning it into a screenplay. not just the personal value, but the monetary value, which can be huge. So thank you, Jacqueline, for that. And yeah, it was a great talk. Learned so much.
I'm glad to hear that because you give so much. I wanted to let you know Shiraz made space for me on his summit, even though I was a last minute kind of thing and I slid in and there were challenges. And I just wanted to let you know, thank you, Shiraz. Even though things didn't go the way we expected, it was still a pleasure to be invited and accepted as a speaker. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
And Dr. Doreen, talk to us, my dear.
Unmute, there I am. Oh, well, one of the things that I love about today is getting to meet people who are really open, and I was in several people's, and I learned each one, but Shiraz, thank you. He did a personal kind of, invited some of us to do a process. So I think that's always valuable when it's like a little teeny workshop snuck in there. So I appreciated that. And thank you everyone for showing up. Look forward to tomorrow.
Definitely look forward to seeing everyone tomorrow. James.
Well, this is going to be sort of a circular thing. I was in a group with Rich, and Rich talked about being bookless and meeting Jeff. And then I was in a group with Jeff, and I was very impressed with Jeff. And then I thought to myself, I have to ask Janine to introduce me to Jeff because I have hundreds of pages of marketing-oriented blog posts that could probably be a book.
I think so, James. I think so. And I think Jeff is the one that can help you with that. And I so wish Michael Whitehouse was with us because I'd have him make the introduction just to show you how it's done. Because in my room, Michael Whitehouse was talking about this is how you introduce and this is how you network from, and this is all appropriate. So definitely make sure that you folks all come back tomorrow so that we can do that. So Jeff Borshawa, I introduced James Hipkin. James Hipkin, this is Jeff Borshawa. I think the two of you can be booked together. Wonderful. You're very welcome. And so for those of you who are with Authorpreneurs HQ, if you would stay on, and we have about 8 minutes, and I would enjoy hearing from any of the speakers, anything that you felt would be helpful to folks as they leave today and come back tomorrow. Anything you wanted to share that you possibly didn't have an opportunity to share because of the headlights in the moment. Go ahead, Jeff.
So Janine, I'm going to preface this with you put Rich and Matt and I in the room together, and we're going to be grown up and highly mature.
Oh, yes.
Not really. The biggest takeaway I had from today, and I can't stress this enough to anybody, is if you don't love what you're doing, and I feel like Janine says this, if you don't love what you're doing, don't do it, because we had so much fun today. And all of you that I met, you're absolutely wonderful human beings. My advice is stop marketing, stop trying to be a marketing person, and just be the amazing human that you are and let that light bring people to you. Because I met a lot of wonderful people today who are trying to learn how to be someone else. You're really good at you, and I feel Matt said it best. Be yourself because everybody else is already taken. So thank you for that, Matt. And by the way, Rich and I will be here all night. No, kidding. The puns will not stop. And I will find.
And don't forget to tip your bartenders and waiters.
They work really hard for the money. So please take care of our.
Pay Lynette a little extra, give her some therapy. I'll end with a joke. Circles are pointless. So thank you.
Unless they're a singularity. Yes, sir. You are quite right. So
yeah, by the way, I just want to sit there and say thank you, Jeff. Yeah, be yourself. Everybody else is taken. And to quote being a 5-year-old and my little friend here, you can do it.
You can do it.
So.
Yep. And in my room, we were talking about how it's important to breathe in the smell of flowers and to blow out birthday candles. And the speaker was apologizing about how juvenile that was. And I was like, oh no, you're singing to my song right there. It's like, teach me at that level, because that's where I have fun, breathing in the smell of flowers and blowing out birthday candles. And we use that throughout the rest of the room. So the recordings are going to be very entertaining. And thank you very much for keeping them entertaining for everyone. And as we get ready to wrap up, Tasha, are there any last minute things that you would like to share with people before we meet tomorrow? By the way, same bat time, same bat channel, as they used to say, as far as the Zoom links. Go ahead, Tasha.
Actually, one or two things. Definitely same bat time as tomorrow. However, the Zoom links, I believe, are different. If you need the Zoom links, which I will drop them in the, oh, you know what? You're right. Zoom link is the same.
It's the same,
Same
guys.
for today and tomorrow, and I'll redrop it in the chat right now.
Yeah.
If you want to snag it. We will start pretty much like we did today. The flow will pretty much be the same, and hopefully we'll have those recording tech issues worked out. If not, we have a workaround that worked, and we look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow.
Okay, thank you so much, Tasha. She's our program manager. She's the one that keeps us all humming along, and she just makes me look good. So I'm just like, thank you, Tasha. Cheryl, what can we do for you?
I just want to say I'll be in the car tomorrow and I'll miss this. And I'm sorry. I want the recording. I had too much fun in our group, and they left me their addresses on there. So I'd like to get them.
Okay. You can get the recordings by purchasing the All Access Pass. And I think those are on random links somewhere. Tasha, if you can find those for us. And you can purchase the All Access Pass. What this gets you is all the speakers have given us bonuses. And so we're going to make sure that that's on there. All of the recordings are on there. And don't forget, every single one of these speakers did a promo video with me. They did an audition. And so they even gave extra content with that. So that's free. You can access for free. But all the recordings of them speaking are part of the All Access Pass. And don't forget that Jeff and I are building out the Authorpreneurial Summit guidebook. And what we are doing is our speakers are going to volunteer if they want to write articles and even more content. And all of that is going to go into a book that will be available for purchase on Amazon at a later date, mainly because we have to get through the recordings first and we'll get to the book second. But that is all that's coming to you. So thank you for bringing that up, Cheryl. I appreciate you. So we have 3 minutes left. Does anybody else care to share what they have learned or something that was important to them? This is where we have the Jeopardy music. Do, 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 do. So I know a lot of you are processing, and I would like you very much to take the last 2 minutes here and breathe in whatever breathing technique works best for you. And I would like you to decide what thing that you learned today that you will implement. And I'd like you to bring that to us tomorrow. Okay? Because whatever is the one thing that you will implement, the next time I see you, I will ask you about it, because I get to see all of you at some point in the future. And that's my joy. So I would want to come to you and then say, so how we doing on the book, James? Or Shiraz, how we doing on that event? Whatever that thing is that you bring to our attention. Okay. All right. And so, Brian, do you care to share anything that happened in your room, since I've heard about the Jeff room?
I think we were all just quietly, politely absorbing maximum amounts of knowledge. No, it was good. Everybody brought their A game, and I don't know, I can only speak for myself, but that was time well spent. Thank you to everyone who presented.
Yep. There's a lot of brain trust in this room. And so I do want to say thank you to Lynette and Sean for working with us on making sure the chat captains were working and making things work, roll on it. And then also big shout out and thank you to Tasha for running around. She figured out a way to clone herself. She was able to be in 3 rooms at once. And so thank you for having multiple devices so that we could all record you guys. All right. Well, I am not going to keep you any longer than is necessary. It's almost the top of the hour. We'll see you all tomorrow. And if not, drive safe, be safe, and keep shining that light that is you. We need to talk to you soon. Bye now.